So in this video, I'm going to go over 6 ways that you can spot a fake entrepreneur. So the number one thing, the first thing that you can look out for is, are they able to explain something simply? Einstein said it best: if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it enough. This is such a really good example of finding out if people know what they're talking about or not. I actually use this all the time. Like when I'm working with a company, certain people inside those companies, I try to figure out who I should talk to by how they explain what they do. So like the first thing I do is just kind of like ask people, like explain what you do for the company and how it helps. And right then you figure out like, do they know what they're doing or not? Because people that don't know what they're talking about, they want an answer, but they don't know how to like sit there and say it simply. Like if you know and you understand what you do well enough, you should be able to explain it as simply as it can be in one sentence. The second thing that you can look out for is, do they always have an answer for everything? Only experts are comfortable saying, I don't know. Experts don't have this feeling in their bones that they need to constantly prove themselves. They're just focused on what they're experts at. People that are faking their expertise are always focused on making sure the other person thinks highly of them. If they always have an answer for everything and they never say, I don't know, that's a really like telltale sign. I will oftentimes, when I'm talking to people that I sense are kind of like faking what they know, I will get them down a rabbit hole. Like I will actually kind of sense like where their expertise lacks and how they're not like being upfront about it, and then I'll continue to like lead them down the hole to where they eventually expose, that they don't know something. And it's a really good way to like get out of them if they're like faking it or not. If I'm talking to like a business owner or something, like if they ask me something, like I'm just gonna give you face value, like sure, I don't know, because I know how to figure it out. If I know all the other stuff that I know, I don't have a problem saying that I don't know this new thing. An expert in the field actually knows that, especially in the business today, like it's always changing and you can't really be an expert all the time unless you constantly learn. So experts are fine saying, hey, I don't know that thing. Number 3 is, what are they focused on? And this goes back to some of the other points, because some of the other points are talking about like asking them questions, questioning what they know and how they found that out and stuff. So in their answer, like try to see like what are they focused on. Experts focus on you as the consumer to know like, this is what I'm going to do for you and how my services help you. That's what a real expert will focus on. Fake experts focus on them. They focus on how they got their following, past things they did, different results they've had in the past, different things like that. They always focus on themselves. They're always trying to prove themselves. That's a really easy way to spot a fake from like afar. I've broken down on this channel many times, fake followers, fake website results, fake revenue results, whatever. So that's a really telltale sign, is like to see like, do they focus on them or do they focus on you as the customer? The fourth thing is name dropping. This kind of like links back to the last point as well. In their like proof of who they are, like experts don't really care to name drop that often, especially in social settings. If it's like in an email, that might be different, but like when you're like face to face interacting with this person, if they're sitting there being like, yeah, well, I work with this person and I had a post on this website and we did this, that's like a really good telltale sign that they actually are full of it, because it is completely unprofessional to name drop like that. Experts that have real expertise and experience in the business world, they know that they've gone through those like trials and tribulations to figure out what they should and shouldn't say. People that just want to seem like they know what they're talking about, they think name dropping is cool and is a good thing. It's not. It's like a total like, I don't care what the situation is. If I'm in some social setting, network, especially like some networking event, and somebody's talking about, oh, I do that, the people that like really know what they're talking about in the room all kind of go, like they kind of have that look of like, okay, like it's like literally like the most unprofessional thing to hear someone else name drop their clients or people they work with or like anything like that. So watch out for that. The next thing is, do they admit being wrong? This goes back again to one of the other ones, but admitting that you're wrong is kind of like admitting that you don't know something. if they only talk about the same ideas, if they don't talk about any failures that they've had, if they don't talk about like just things where they've messed up, like if they're not, like if you're in like a really deep conversation about like what they do and how they help businesses or whatever, if they're not sitting there being like, yeah, one time, you know, I did this thing and I messed up and then I learned from that thing, that's a very, very telltale sign. Experts love learning. The only way they got to that point is because they love learning. Fake experts hate learning. That's why they skipped the whole let me get my expertise step and just said let me sell based on my expertise, because they didn't want to do the process of learning. People that love learning love making mistakes, because the only way we learn in life is by making mistakes. So that's a very good telltale sign of, do they admit that they're wrong? And a lot of times, like, people won't just openly come up to you and be like, hey, here's where I'm wrong, let me tell you about it. But like in the conversation, if they never mention like, yeah, I learned this thing from messing up, there's something weird there. Like, how have they never messed up? You know, everyone starts at zero. Everyone starts, you know, we all were babies and didn't know how to speak at one point. So they've learned somewhere in there. So you should be able to kind of get out the process of them learning, which is going to basically force them to admit their mistakes. If they don't admit mistakes in that process, it's a very good sign that they're probably faking it. The last thing I have for you is, are they willing to give things away? They won't talk about anything. They're just like trying to get you in their sales funnel. And it's very, very obvious. I hit the mic there for a second. It's very obvious that they do it, because like you could literally DM them on Instagram, and then the next thing you know, they're like, it's like some like copied response. The like more real and genuine people know when to just give stuff away, because they want to build value up front. The people that don't actually have value to give, they don't want to give anything up front, because everything they have to give, if they gave it away, they wouldn't have anything else to sell, you know? So the only things they have bare minimum, and they don't have anything free to give away. The real experts, like, they don't care to give away information. Like, if you ask them something, like, they're not going to be like, oh, well, I can't share that because I have another client that pays me for that, and it's unfair to them if I tell you. Like, that's bullshit. Like, that's ridiculous. Real experts, it's almost hard for them not to talk about like how they do what they do. The fake experts just talk about like the idea of what they do. They don't actually like talk about like very in depth, like, yeah, I used this software, or I used this person, or whatever. The fakes will kind of beat around the bush of it and be like, well, yeah, we can get into that later. We can talk about that on our first call once you're in the program, or whatever. So that's the end of the video. I hope you learned something from there. I hope that this kind of helps you judge people that you might come across in the business world in the future. If you have any questions, let me know. Let me know your feedback in the comments. If you agree with anything, if you disagree with anything. If you know people that do some of these things, please call that person out in the comments. I want to get that going. I think it's hilarious to call fakes out.